Rule of Law Development Foundation 13th webinar series. Today, we'll be speaking on an overview and midterm report of the administration of President BOLA AHMED TINUBU, May 2023 to May 2025. We welcome everyone present, and we cannot wait to listen to our panelists. Before we commence the program, may we have a quick opening prayer from Mr. Ojia Itopa.
We beg you that as we commence this program, you will commence with us. Help us that we will achieve everything we plan to achieve today in this program. We pray that we will learn a lot and dive into the issues. We pray in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Rule of Law Development Foundation, I would like to welcome our distinguished invited panelists, Mr. Majid Dahiru. A round of applause for him, please. And Mr. Jide Ojo. You're welcome. I'd like to specially acknowledge the coordinator of the Rule of Law Development Foundation, the brain box behind this intellectual discourse, the convener of this webinar, no other person than Mr. JB DAUDU, SAN. A round of applause. We also have in our midst the managing partner of JB DAUDU & Co. and a keen supporter of this foundation, Mr. Adedayo Adedeji, SAN. I would like to recognize the chairman of, it's not here yet. We also have here a partner at JB DAUDU & Co., Mr. Anslem Obarize. With us is a senior legal practitioner and a supporter of this foundation, a friend of the foundation, Mrs. Ozioma Izwara. You're welcome. In our midst is Mrs. Ebere Agozie. I'm sorry if I murdered your name. She's from News Agency of Nigeria. We also have Mr. Atsumbi Bamidele from the Nigerian Television Authority. You're welcome, sir. Last but not the least, our online attendees. You are all welcome. Next on our agenda is the opening remarks by the coordinator. Without further ado, let's make welcome JB DAUDU, SAN, as he gives his opening remarks.
May I, with the utmost respect, adopt the order of protocol ably laid out by the Master of Ceremony, MC, of this auspicious function. As usual, our webinar series examines topical, national or international thematic issues of the utmost significance. This 13th edition is no different. On this occasion, we will examine the report card of the administration of President BOLA AHMED TINUBU, GCFR, at its halfway mark into its 4 years tenure, which will, God willing, terminate on the 28th of May 2027. I do not expect this session to be a tea party or a mere talk shop where the usual platitudes and pleasantries will be mounted without any realistic engagement or insightful assessment being carried out by all and sundry, especially from the gentlemen specifically and carefully chosen to interrogate the topic. They are Malam Majid Dairu and Mr. Jide Oju, both seasoned journalists and well sought after public affairs analysts in their own right. Indeed, the session is designed to accommodate the views of all and sundry. The topic, as stated above, seeks to locate or identify what has been achieved in terms of political, economic, and social advancement of Nigeria under the leadership of President TINUBU within the past 2 years. Are we better off as a nation since the last occupant of the office of President, that is Alhaji Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, handed the baton of power over to PBAT, President BOLA AHMED TINUBU? Whatever the answer is, our resource persons are eminently competent / qualified to deal with all matters arising from the major issues set out herein. It is also taken for granted that they will offer, flowing from their deep nationalistic fervor, solutions to any conundrums, quagmire, or abyss that we may have plunged ourselves into. And if all is well, they will also say so. Welcome. As coordinator of Rule of Law Development Foundation, please check our newly packaged website for what we do in this foundation. I'm obliged to browse over the topic, this topic, which is welcome, in as summary manner as possible without preempting the positions of our erudite resource persons. However, experience has shown that it is easier for a camel or trailer, overloaded trailer, to pass through the eye of a needle than to attempt to give a summary of the expectations of the webinar. So I have totally refrained, at least for now, to venture into such an discussion. Notwithstanding this caveat, I usually defer my intervention till after the lead presenters have spoken. I hope that I will be obliged this indulgence when the time comes. I will also use this opportunity, first of all, to welcome my dear brother and friend, Mohammed Abdul Sule, a classmate from secondary school, a retired civil servant who has found opportunity and time to be here with us this person. Moha, you're welcome. I also use this opportunity to wish our teeming children and young persons happy International Children's Day. I know that some adults want to become children again. Well, the irony is that a lot of children want to turn to adults quickly without enjoying childhood. So having said this, I welcome you all to this quarter's webinar. Let us now patiently listen to our resource persons, appraise the tenure of President TINUBU at halftime. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. The coordinator of the Rule of Law Development Foundation, Mr. J.B. DAUDU, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for the opening remarks. It was indeed very stimulating. Our first presenter for today is Mr. Majid Dahiru. Mr. Majid Dahiru holds a Bachelor of Science in Geology from the Kaduna State University. He's a syndicated newspaper columnist at the Daily Sun, Premium Times, and the National Pilot newspaper. He's a member of the editorial board of the Pilot newspapers, and he was a media advisor at the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation. He is, and currently team lead, technical committee of the Luxterra Leadership Foundation Network and Advocacy Group. He's a celebrated journalist, and public policy analyst. Please join me to welcome Mr. Majid Dairu for his presentation. Please, a round of applause. Please, let's. A bigger round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Let me especially thank my father, Lynette Sik, for always considering me worthy of his noble cause. I'm a member of this family, and I'm a friend of the house too. So thank you very much for the honor and privilege once again. Well, the topic we are going to discuss is a pretty straightforward one, and I think it's simple enough. We're all Nigerians. So we are all witnesses to whatever it is that we've been experiencing in the last 2 years. But you know, when you give a columnist like me a topic to come and discuss, and I'm supposed to write it down, I'll put it in a prose form, as though I'm writing my column and just read out my thoughts. So in the last 100 weeks or so, we've been writing every week, you know, critically appraising whatever is good, what is bad, or what is ugly about the government of President AHMED TINUBU. So I've just titled my piece, The TINUBU Presidency at Two, a tale of the ugly, the bad, and the good. So by way of preamble, by 2023, Nigeria's nascent democracy attained the maturity age of 24 years, having endured since 1999, when the transition from military to civil democratic rule came into effect after 16 years of military rule since 1983. In these 24 years, it was a mixed outcome of modest efforts without expected results, unattained aspirations arising from insincerity of leadership purpose, dreams turned into nightmare as a result of broken promises, and hope made hopeless by acute political leadership failure. Whilst the Olusegun Obasanjo administration made modest efforts between 1999 and 2007 to reposition Nigeria on a path of sustainable socio-economic development through the instrumentality of a well-thought-out and properly guided reforms program that yielded such a successful outcome on a scale that he left Nigeria better than he met it. A lack of purposeful political reforms that would have made Nigeria's democracy more democratic through institutional strengthening as well as improved electoral management system rendered Obasanjo's modest achievements unsustainable. Olusegun Obasanjo, a retired army general, former military head of state, and a Civil War veteran, with a global reputation as a Pan-African statesman, upon whom the lot fell to pioneer the political leadership of the Fourth Republic, Nigeria, is a man of many capabilities and multiple competencies, none of which is being a liberal Democrat. And the old soldier has never made any pretenses about being what or that he's not. In his previous writings, Obasanjo had often recommended a benevolent form of dictatorship for developing countries of Africa and other parts of the world. So whereas Obasanjo, leveraging on crude oil price of between $17 in 1999 and $17 in 2007, was able to grow Nigeria's foreign reserves from less than $5 billion to about $35 billion, raising the GDP growth rate from 0.8% to 10.4% by 2004, negotiating a debt relief by paying the lump sum of $12 billion to get Nigeria off its $30 billion debt burden, and leaving behind a healthy savings for the first time in our history of about $9.8 billion in what was then known as the excess crude account. His inability to reform Nigeria's political culture of identity-driven politics that results into prebendalism was like building a solid economic structure on quicksand. While Obasanjo took his role as president and commander-in-chief with all the seriousness it deserves, his undemocratic disposition impacted negatively on his other role as the leader of the ruling People's Democratic Party. So under his stronghold, the PDP became an imperial behemoth of impunity, lawlessness, and corruption on such a scale that it greatly undermined Nigeria's democracy. If the political party system is supposed to be the brainbox of a democracy, then the PDP was a corrupted brainbox. So in addition, Obasanjo it was who moved Nigeria from a command mixed economy to one that is entirely private sector driven under an IMF and World Bank inspired neoliberal economic reform process. And whereas subsequent political leadership of the Nigerian democratic state clearly lacked Obasanjo's purposeful administrative competences, they nevertheless took advantage of the prevalent undemocratic culture of Nigeria's democracy that was consolidated by the flawed elections of 2003 and 2007 to hold on to power even when they failed to deliver on basic services to the people because the people no longer have the power to hire and fire their political leadership. Despite a brief respite that saw an improved electoral management system, which resulted into the defeat of the then incumbent PDP president, Goodluck Jonathan, by then opposition APC in 2015, after 16 years in power, the new rulers of Nigeria will henceforth refuse to follow the Jonathan example. And by 2023, not only has Obasanjo's modest achievements been reversed, Nigeria will once again become a debt-burdened haven of the world's most impoverished, pauperized, traumatized, and terrorized people. As in addition to socioeconomic problems, the country became challenged with multidimensional security challenges. So, after 24 years of transition from military to civil rule, it has become abundantly clear to Nigerians that democracy as a form of government has failed to deliver the much promised dividends in the form of improved welfare and security of lives and properties for the Nigerian people. So the keenly contested presidential election of 2023 was an attempt by the Nigerian people to take back their country from what they considered a corrupt and incompetent establishment as represented by the PDP and its better half, the APC, when they massively rallied behind a fringe Labour Party and Peter Obi's candidate and caused so much disruption in the system that, of course, they came close to winning that election. Now that President AHMED BOLA TINUBU of the ruling APC emerged victorious with the minority of the total votes cast, while winning in only 12 states out of 36 and the FCT, is clearly indicative of the people's resolve of enough is enough, of broken promises, of the dividends of democracy. But 2 years after, did President AHMED BOLA TINUBU learn a lesson or two, or even more, about the historic 2023 election, enough to administer a shock therapy on him to make a detour from the status quo that was massively rejected by the Nigerian people? Well, in my assessment, the 2 years of the TINUBU administration has been characterized by the ugly, the bad, and then the good. So let us talk about the ugly. 2 years after assuming office, in May 2023, it is manifestly clear that President TINUBU has not only been unable to improve the welfare and security of the Nigerian people, but has made it worse through his actions and inactions. His removal of energy subsidies, i.e. electricity and petrol, and the flotation of the Naira has the combined effect of throwing majority of the Nigerian people into an unprecedented level of cost of existence crisis that is characterized by mass hunger, misery, deprivation, and abject poverty. This is because his elimination of petrol and electricity subsidies shot up the cost of production of food, goods and services through the roof, thereby triggering a devastating form of cost-pushed inflation that was compounded by a floated national currency that lost more than 300% of its initial value. For an import-dependent economy with a weak manufacturing base, the removal of energy subsidies and the flotation of the national currency is a double jeopardy for the Nigerian economy that has left a permanent scar in the socioeconomic lives of the people. While the people are reeling from the agonizing pains of what TINUBU administration has dubbed necessary economic reforms, the president, rather than reflect on the ruination his policies have caused the Nigerian people and consider changing course, he is doubling down on his policy decisions and describing them as bold and courageous. Even when different parts of the country erupted in an end hunger protest, President TINUBU could not be bothered because, as far as he was concerned, he has taken the best decision, despite it having the worst socio-economic impact on the people in the history of Nigeria. And the misery of the Nigerian people continues as President TINUBU has thrown us into a well, into a hellhole of hopelessness, but he's still digging because he's still continuing along the lines of his policies. Now, the bad. Although the TINUBU administration inherited a hydra-headed monster of insecurity, it appears to have worsened under his watch. Despite his initial efforts at combating insecurity, the situation seems to have degenerated to a level where resurgence of Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, attacks in the farming belt in central Nigerian states like Plateau and Benue, and banditry in the northwest are now posing existential threats to the Nigerian state, while the constituted authority appear helpless. This heightening insecurity that has resulted into the mass killings of the Nigerian people, while President TINUBU appears to have lost the initiative on how to defeat terror, banditry, and general insecurity. While the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, can be accused of incising national security, President TINUBU can be accused of politicizing it in order not to offend his predecessor, who still holds the key to Nigeria's largest voting demography. And I'm talking about the Hausa-speaking, Fulani traditionally ruled Muslim North, or so it seems. So from the northeast to the northwest, and from central to southern Nigeria, terrorists, bandits, and criminals appear to be rolling the Nigerian state to failure, while our political leaders are behaving like drunken sailors in charge of a sinking ship. Well, it is not all bad and ugly about the last 2 years of the TINUBU administration. So, we have some good. While President TINUBU can be said to have underperformed in the area of security and welfare, even his worst critic would agree that President TINUBU has been a better diversity manager, as clearly seen in his delicate balancing act of inclusion, fairness, and equity in the administration of the Nigerian state. In the build-up to the 2023 presidential election, President TINUBU, a Muslim from southern Nigeria, ran with another Muslim, Kashim Shettima, from northern Nigeria, to the chagrin, to the dismay, to the frustration of Nigeria's Christian half. The fear of Muslim domination of a multi-religious country like Nigeria resulted in a Christian revolt against the APC Muslim ticket. However, 2 years down the line, President TINUBU has proven to be a true Omoluabi and a Yoruba gentleman with the full attributes of religious tolerance, accommodation, and love for all, irrespective of creed, that the Yoruba people are known for. In President TINUBU's Nigeria, not only has Muslims not dominated the country or his administration, his religiously fair, equitable, and inclusive administration has significantly doused religious tensions, and the fear of Muslim domination completely dissipated. As a well-groomed Omoluabi Yoruba gentleman, President TINUBU is as Muslim as he is a Christian and must be credited for raising the bar of broad and liberal-minded leadership of a plural nation such as Nigeria. For me, that should be a yardstick going forward to measure the stability of anybody who wants to occupy the one position in this country. Despite being accused of appointing a disproportionate number of his kinsmen into positions of authority, a closer look and a closer scrutiny of his total appointments clearly indicates a delicate balancing act that carries along every section of the country. While strengthening his home base in the Yoruba-speaking Southwest, President TINUBU is consolidating on his alliances in the North, just as he's cultivating new alliances in the Southeast and South-South. Whereas President TINUBU has compensated and still compensating the North for their massive support for him in the 2023 presidential election, he has extended a hand of friendship to the Southeast, a region where he was totally rejected in the 2023 presidential election, by appointing one of their own, Admiral Ikechukwu Ogala, as Chief of Naval Staff for the first time in 8 years. Just as he also appointed Devumahi to the very powerful, to the very juicy portfolio of Minister of Works. President Tinubu's leadership style has forged a broad-based elite consensus in a manner that has restored, or that is restoring, some form of national unity and social cohesion across ethno-geographic and religious lines. This in itself is a significant achievement, considering what we experienced in the 8 years of the Buhari administration. And this is also because social cohesion and national unity is a necessary condition, precedent, for national development and security. While the president may not have delivered yet, but his politics of inclusion is healing Nigeria's ethno-geographic and religious fault lines, allowing for issues-based public discourse on the state of the nation, such as we are doing here. For those of us that have been in the field as public commentators and columnists, this is the best time to be on TV, on radio, or writing on the back page of newspapers, because it is strictly issues. It is no longer about ethnic contestation, it's no longer about religious mudslinging. The president has somehow united the elites using patronage system, a corrupt patronage system, and he has by default also united us, the Talakawas, using hunger and starvation. So right now we have come to the realization as Nigerians that there are only two ethnic groups in Nigeria and two religious groups in Nigeria. The privileged few that are close to government or are in government, and the rest of us, whether you are Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, whatever you are, that are on the street, that are hungry, that are pauperized, and are struggling to survive. So this in itself is an achievement. So it allows us to have frank conversations on how to collectively as a people take back our country, leveraging on the democratic system. So by way of conclusion, Nigerians must now take advantage of the prevailing atmosphere of fraternal camaraderie to begin to organize a coalition of the willing, to chart a way out of our current sorry state of affairs. This coalition of the willing must be made up of men and women that are Nigerians in mind, body and soul, and who are willing to subsume their sectional interests for national interest. The immediate challenge to overcome is to move Nigeria away from an identity, ethnic and religious, driven political culture, to one that's actually motivated by common economic interests, security, and environmental concerns. This has become expedient because the reward system for identity politics is corruption in the mode of state patronage for a few, for a privileged few, while the reward system for broad-based politics, devoid of ethnicity and religion, is good governance for the majority. We must make a conscious transition from the status quo to a new order. This coalition of the willing must also be able to come up with a clear-cut, ideologically clarified, and pragmatic alternative to the current neoliberal economic orthodoxy, from which playbook President Tinubu and his predecessors have been reading and adapting, but which has created out of Nigeria a country of the richest man in Africa and the poorest people in the world. I say this because it's not enough to criticize Tinubu for removing subsidy and flotation of the naira. The question is, what alternatives are you bringing on the table? What is the clear alternative any opposition, anybody at all, is going to suggest as a way out of the doldrum we find ourselves? Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, our distinguished panelists, Mr. Majid Dahiru. You really hit the nail on the head and has made a very, very good assessment of the situation. We would like to call on our next speaker, Mr. Jide Ojo. Before he comes on stage, we'll just read a brief resume of our panelists. Mr. Jide Ojo holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Lagos and a master's degree in political science, majoring in international relations at the University of Ibadan. With regards to his career, he has been a development worker since 1998 and has worked for both local and international non-governmental organizations, such as the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, Democratic Governance for Development Project, Forward in Action for Education, Poverty and Malnutrition, Electoral Reform Network and Association of Nigerian Authors. He has consulted for USAID, OTI, DFID, UNDP, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Development Technologies, Nevanti Group, and a whole lot. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance USA. His strength lies in research, advocacy, and training, particularly on democracy and good governance. Mr. Jide is a 1998 winner of the Delta State NYSC Honors Award, a Global Rights Delegate to the 61st session of the United Nations Human Rights Commission in Geneva, Switzerland, a Carter Center short-term observer to Ghana presidential election in December 2008. He's an international idea-trained bridge, building resources in democracy, governance, and elections workshop facilitator. He has trained management and staff of election management bodies such as INEC, political party chieftains, chairmen and councillors of local governments, civil society managers, media practitioners, honorable members of House of Representatives and State Houses of Assembly, as well as staff of Nigerian Senate and State House of Assembly. He has written over 2,000 published commentaries in 80 Nigerian newspapers, magazines, and newsletters. He's a columnist with the Punch newspapers. He's been interviewed by over 65 television stations and 76 radio stations, both nationally and internationally. He's a news resident analyst with Arise TV from October 2017 to March 2020. Please join me to welcome our distinguished speaker, Mr. Jide Ojo.
Learning sick or learning six, because there are more than one learning six here present. I feel intimidated. I wish I had studied law, even though I'm a lawyer by association. Well, I won't waste much of our time. Thanks so much, JB DAUDU, for finding me worthy of being at this webinar today. I chose to be physically present because Yorubas will say, Ojulorowa. Is that not so? And also, we are paying so much for telecommunication tariff, and then the services seems to have worsened. Is that not a contradiction? I do a lot of Zoom interviews, but despite paying so much, you still have a lot of glitches. So I said, since I'm in Abuja, I should be physically present. I don't know if you can project my presentation, but if it's not going to be projected, I will just read. Yeah, okay, so we can all follow. Midterm review of President TINUBU's administration. How do you describe this man? The Agaban of Bogu, 16th President of Nigeria, former Governor of Lagos State, former Senator in the aborted Third Republic, a pro-democracy activist, member of the NADECO, president of the largest cabinet in Nigeria's history, about 50 ministers, and the first Nigerian president to govern on a Muslim-Muslim ticket. At least elected president, I need to say, because if you consider Buhari and Idiagbon, they are both Muslims. So let's start by what the man himself as he set questions for himself. And I think we should benchmark the analysis, or we should score him on those agenda he has set for himself. So he has an 8-point agenda, an 80-page renewed dope agenda, and the first one is to reform the economy for sustained inclusive growth, strengthening national security for peace and prosperity, boosting agriculture to achieve food security, unlocking energy and natural resources for sustainable development, enhancing infrastructure and transportation as enablers of growth, focus on education, health, and social investment as essential pillars of development, accelerate diversification through industrialization, digitization, creative arts, manufacturing, and lastly, innovation and improved governance for effective service delivery. So the first half, as we say in football, there are 2 halves in football match, isn't it? So the first half, out of 4, at least my arithmetic teacher taught me 2/4 is half. So the first half, he has initiated a lot of reforms. In my column on May 14, 2 weeks ago, in the Punch newspaper, I said TINUBU has been more focused on economic restructuring. We are more used to political restructuring, but Jagaban chose economy over politics, and he has left no one in doubt. In fact, I think 2023, he went to Ondo, Akure, to meet with the leaders of Afenifere. And they asked him, what is your political restructuring agenda? You have been an advocate of restructuring. Can we have, because I was privileged to be at Abiola Ajimobi Foundation lecture in Ibadan, 2022. And Bola Tinubu was the guest speaker, and he dwelled so much on restructuring that I thought in the first 6 months he was going to initiate a lot of political restructuring. But he has, like a Maradona, he has not said much, or neither has he said anything about his political agenda beyond just winning re-election, which we now know is almost halfway through. But in terms of economic restructuring, which was the pledge he made in Akure to the Afenifere leaders, I recall when he met with Alpha Soronti and the Afenifere leaders, he said, look, my major agenda in this first term is economic restructuring. And I've called that economic restructuring TINUBUnomics. So if you get a copy of, you can Google it online, and in my May 14, 2025 column, I dwell so much on his economic reforms. So the following are what I can distill in his TINUBUnomics. Removal of subsidy on petrol, not on petroleum resources, particularly on petrol, because prior to his coming, there have been removal of subsidy on kerosene, on diesel, on jet A1, that's aviation fuel. But specifically, he removed or implemented the removal of subsidy on petrol. Then the unification of exchange rates, creation of zonal development commissions. Perhaps we have not advanced our mind to it. Obasanjo laid the foundation for development commissions with NDDC year 2000. And by the way, it wasn't as if Obasanjo wanted that. it was one bill that was the only bill so far that was where the president's veto was overridden by the National Assembly for the creation of NDDC in year 2000. Since that time, they have never succeeded again to veto the to override the president's veto. So from NDDC, Buhari came and gave us Northeast Development Commission. But in 2 years of BOLA TINUBU, we have had Northwest Development Commission, North Central Development Commission, South-South Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, and now Southwest Development Commissions. I think we should pay attention. Something is happening. Nigeria, this is the first time we are having an official acknowledgement of 6 geopolitical zones as an economic structures. Since Abacha's time, they have always used 6 geopolitical zones as kind of loose administrative structure. Now we are seeing it under TINUBU as a development centers. We hope to see that development anyway. Then there is the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, which is the first time we are having that. We have 200 billion credit facilities for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Out of these 200 billion, only 22 billion have so far been disbursed. We have the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas. We have tax reforms. I think today there will be the passage of the tax reform bill, the harmonized version. The House of Reps have passed it, the Senate have passed it, but they have to set up what they call the conference committee, and there are speculations in the media that today they are most likely going to pass that harmonized version. So maybe that's the May 29 gift the president wants to give us, tax reform. Last year he gave us the new old national anthem. But this year is tax reform. We hope we will not be taxed to death when that comes on stream, because they are looking for money from anywhere. Then we have foreign trips to woo foreign direct investment. I think some media houses, I don't know, Majid, you can correct me. I think they said the president has traveled like 17 times in 2 years. We thought Buhari owed the ace, but the way TINUBU is going, he might be the man to beat at the end of his 4 years, because like every quarter, he goes out like 2-3 times. First to Paris, and then from Paris to any other places. It could be Paris to US, Paris to Dubai, Paris to Italy, but Paris is like the connecting. That's where they connect the flights to other parts of the world. Once they leave Nigeria, they will touch base at Paris, and then from Paris to the rest of the world. Under Buhari, it was London. He will touch base at London, then from London. We don't know who will touch base from Budukatu Ranch to the rest of the world. Maybe it will come in future. Then we have the 70,000 new minimum wage. We must not forget that. That's part of TINUBUnomics. Of course, aside from economy, is the chairman of ECOWAS. And under him, we have 3 countries that have left ECOWAS. So the geographical map of ECOWAS has been redrawn. If you see the map now, it's not what it was since 1975. Then we have Nigeria Education Loan Fund, which they said is a game changer. It's a reintroduction, actually. We used to have, we used to have the student loan in the 70s, perhaps till 80s, but it was mismanaged and was suspended. Oh, okay. So we have NER fund now, and they said about 500 billion have been earmarked. And then I think I read somewhere that over 500,000 applications have been received and being processed. So, as at April 18, pay attention to what I'm saying. As at April 18, TINUBU support group said he has approved 22 new universities. record 22 new federal universities. In fact, almost all the polytechnics are now being upgraded to universities. Yaba Tech, Tajulari College of Education, Adeyemi College of Education, all of them, they are now going to be having not rector but vice chancellors going forward. And then new ones, including his own hometown, Iragbiji, now Federal University of Agriculture, which he has approved for Iragbiji. So, something is happening. Then we have 13 gigantic road projects ongoing. I can't list all of them, but the most prominent of these 13 road projects is the multi-trillion naira Calabar to Lagos or Lagos to Calabar superhighway. That is the first time a road project will cost about 15 trillion naira. 15 trillion. First time. I've never seen one stretch of road that costs that much in all my over 50 years on earth. But PBAT is doing that. 15 trillion PPP with the Chaguri family. Then we have another one, Badagry to Sokoto, another multi-trillion, which is also under construction. Then we must not forget the financial autonomy to local government. Supreme Court decision of July 11, 2024. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, 1 year after so talk and no action, the governors have ganged up against it. They said, Odeshi, it will not see the light of the day. Whether na Supreme Court or na Court God, I don't know what we are going to do. Supreme Court has spoken, but the governor said they have not had way. In fact, my governor in Oyo State said he set up a committee to review what the Supreme Court judgment meant. I don't know. God help Nigeria. Then we have the declaration of state of emergency. Many of us thought it was only in Rivers that he declared state of emergency. You are wrong. On July 13, barely 2 months in power, July 13, 2023, President BOLA AHMED TINUBU declared state of emergency on food security, or food insecurity rather. Then creation of Federal Ministry of Livestock Development, Marine and Blue Economy, as well as Creative Economy, Arts and Tourism. New ministries. Meanwhile, the same president I think it was in 2023, said he wanted to implement the Steve Onosaye Onosaye's report on merger and acquisition of MDs. It has died on, they have killed it in view. Those of you in admin, when they say KIV can mean keep in view or kill in view. In the case of the KIV on Onosaye's report is kill in view. Because the president has said, go and implement Onosaye's report, has now gone ahead to create 6 new development commissions, to create Ministry of Livestock Development, Marine and Blue Economy, and Creative Arts. Is that not, no, I didn't say madness. Is that not hypocrisy? So, again, let's focus on fighting insecurity, because the concept note that was shared with me dwells so much on issue of insecurity, and it's very germane to the survival of Nigeria. Don't forget, Section 14, Subsection 2B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has altered, says security and welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So, do we have security? I don't know. But security and defense sector receive or is receiving the highest national budget, just like under successive administration. In 2025, Nigeria's security and defense budget is 6.57 trillion. This budget is allocated to various areas, including personnel costs at 4 trillion, capital expenditure 1.5 trillion, overhead costs 642 billion, and a significant portion of the budget is directed towards the Defense Ministry. I wrote this year, I said, why do we need Minister of Police Affairs? Maybe somebody will ask that same question. We have Ministry of Police Affairs, then we have Police Service Commission. And I asked the President, why don't you scrap Ministry of Police Affairs and strengthen Police Service Commission? After all, he dissolved Minister of Sport and reinstated National Sport Commission. Police Service Commission is recognized by the Constitution. It's one of the 13 federal executive bodies. But Ministry of Police Affairs is not recognized by any law. It was created by administration. You know why I'm saying this? Because of overhead. Why should we be duplicating? Anyway, I have limited time. So he has also asked that there should be recruitment of more police and armed forces personnel. And then the Punch of May 15, was it last week, said to curb insecurity across Nigeria, President BOLA AHMED TINUBU has approved the establishment of what they call National Forest Guard System, and that 130,000 personnel should be recruited ASAP. So we have the infographic on the budget and all of that. But let's move on. You all have the paper, so there's no need dwelling on that. So in spite of this huge multi-trillion security and defense budget, are we secure? I said Nigeria has faced violent insurgencies for decades, ranking 6th on the 2025 Global Terrorism Index. Please clap for Nigeria now. We used to be the number 1, or is it number 2, like 4 years ago. So we are just 6. It's still under digits. After all, we are just in the company of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria. We are not doing badly, are we? Premium Times of May 28, 2024 reported that under this government, 4,500 Nigerians were killed, 7,000 kidnapped in TINUBU's first year as president. What are the drivers of insecurity? Insurgency, which has rebounded in recent months, especially in Borno State. We have Boko Haram, Iswap, Lakurawa. Nakurawa is in northwest, and then we have Mahmuda in my brother's area, north central, where Majid comes from. They are now the one dealing with Mahmuda. So the drivers of insecurity includes unemployment, poverty, desertification, and deforestation, which has led to other farmers' clashes. We also have social inequality, global terrorism spread, especially in the Sahel region after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, 2012? 2011, we have seen global terrorism surge or spike because Americans, after instigating that removal, did not bargain for the implications, where ethnic militias looted the treasury, the armory rather, of Libya and made their way further down Africa, moving to Chad, moving to Niger, moving to Burkina Faso, Mauritania, and the rest, with sophisticated weapons from Libya. And that's what has strengthened Boko Haram we started having Boko Haram violent crisis in 2009. And did you know that the state of emergency that was declared against Boko Haram has not been lifted for over how many years now? Almost 15 years. There's still state of emergency, but they work free. So, marginalization and discrimination has led to IPOB and Niger Delta militancy. We have ethno-religious conflict, hunger, and corruption. Those are the drivers. There could be more. So what are the socio-economic and political impacts of insecurity? Increased unemployment, food scarcity, poverty, increase in the number of IDPs, that's internally displaced persons, low voter turnout, Jackpot syndrome. Many of you don't know that the reason why some people leave the shores of this country is not because they don't have very good jobs. They do have. My neighbor who left for Canada was a manager in what's the name? Those who made Milo. What's it? Nestle. He was a manager in Nestle, but he left for Canada. So it's not only unemployment that made people to jack out. When you are not secured, there is no nightlife again. Now we have self-imposed curfew. It's not government that imposed the curfew. You yourself has imposed curfew on yourself. And I'm one of them. I don't go out at night unless the night fell on me before I finish what I'm doing in town. So Nigerians are now on self-imposed curfew. There's reduction in life expectancy. In time past, Nigerian life expectancy used to be about 60, 64. Now it's about 50, in the range of 52, 54 now. Destruction of social amenities and national infrastructures. That's part of the socio-political impacts of insecurity. You know, in many northeastern towns and cities, the telecommunication masts of all these telecoms are routinely destroyed because they want to make sure that when communities are under attack, they cannot call out for help. So it's part of insecurity. It's part of the socioeconomic impact of insecurity. So, as I round up, so soon, sustainable and inclusive strategies for addressing insecurity and other allied matters. I said there is a need for decentralization of Nigerian policing system. For the life of me, at least I've been to a few other countries in this world. I don't know of any other country that have only one centralized policing system, top to bottom. And let no one deceive you. When the police authority are saying, oh, we are not right for state police, they are doing it, they are saying it out of self-interest too. Do you know many state governments are the one providing logistics for police? Do you know that? Multi-billion. Lagos, Rivers, like every year, they buy them like 200 cars, provide fuel, provide other logistic support. So they know if they allow state police, that largesse will dry off. You can see what's happening to our armed forces. Majid, you were saying it on AIT this morning. The feeding allowance of Nigerian soldiers on the front line, it was Senator Ali Ndume that first drew attention to that flight some months ago on channels, that our soldiers are paid only 1,500 feeding allowance. When the Nigerian government was now sufficiently embarrassed, they now increased it to 3,000. But for the life of me, ladies and gentlemen here present, can you eat with three? If you enter Kilimanjaro or Chicken Republic, unless you want to buy water and one piece of small chicken pie, that's what you get for 3,000. And that's our soldier, what we are using to feed our soldiers. Father Bakindo said something about his younger brother that was fighting Boko Haram in the northeast. They were thirsty. They needed water. They saw a well. They drew water, not knowing that the water has been poisoned by the locusts. That was how the guy died. It's alive, you can fact check him. So you can see, and we want to end insurgency. You are paying 3,000 to soldiers on front line. And some of them, they are supposed to be changed every 6 months. Some have been there 3-5 years. They have not seen their wives and families. Some, when they sustain injury, they use their own resources to take care of their health. You've seen some videos. I'm not making this up, and I'm not using this opportunity to denigrate Nigerian government. But these are reasons why we seem to be playing catch-up, why we are not succeeding. Issue of welfare of our police. There was a report of one, retired DSP, that said because his entitlement has not been paid after retirement, he will soon join Boko Haram and become an instructor. His entitlement has not been paid. Anyway, Nigeria, my country. My first book was Nigeria, My Nigeria. I published that book in 2010. That was 15 years ago. That was the title, Nigeria, My Nigeria. So we need to decentralize our policing system, better funding for the Nigerian security and defense sector, infusion of technology into the fight against insecurity. Why would Boko Haram be able to deploy drones? And we are not deploying drones to know the location of Boko Haram. If you know, those who know the story about how Americans killed the second in command to Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, they already had intelligence that every evening he comes out on the balcony to receive fresh air. They've monitored him, they know his routine. What they simply did was to send a drone to attack him. It was an unmanned drone. Precisely, the guy was killed in his veranda. The same thing with the leaders of this Gaza, who has the Hamas. One of the leaders of Hamas that was neutralized. It was on video. They monitored him through surveillance. Where he was seated was where they sent drone to kill him. The leader of Hamas, the one before the current one, that was last year. So there are technologies to help us fight insecurity and insurgency. Why are we not deploying them? There is this daikon in Kaduna, sir. What is the state? They produce salt now. Glory be to God. Someone say hallelujah. Furniture now. Where they should be producing rifles. You know, there was a time, there was an IG that said, God save Nigeria at one election, that they don't even have enough tear gas at election. That if there had been violence, I think it was 2015 election somewhere, that if there had been violence, Nigerian police would have been handicapped. That's why they were very grateful to Goodluck Jonathan conceding and not allowing the Niger Delta militants to take. They said they did not have enough tear gas. I heard that from the grapevine. So if you don't have enough tear gas, betting, all these things that China, what makes China a leading economy is not its population, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't. Nigeria should not be borrowing from China. China is 1.3, 1.4 billion. Nigeria is estimated 200 million. Why should we be going to China with 1.4 billion to borrow to fix our refineries. Now the money for the refineries have been swallowed. They have shut down Port Harcourt yesterday. They shut down Warri in January. Yet they commissioned it or restrained it in December 2024. Glory be to God. I'm not indicting anybody. So we need to infuse technology in the fight against insecurity. Reduction in unemployment. When they say kinetic and non-kinetic, what are we saying? You cannot continue to keep people like flies. The drivers of insecurity have listed there. If you don't provide the enabling environment for people to be able to earn a decent living, they will take to crime. There is a popular saying that he who is down does not fear any fall. And somebody who is hungry is half dead. You are not threatening, I will kill you. When I'm alive, what is my usefulness? It's people like Majid that doesn't want to die because he has children, he has family, he has dependents, he has media to attend to. These people wake up hopeless. They wake up to play Ludo and draft. And when hunger wires them, they look for something to steal. I just finished reading a novel, Dangerous Lady. Dangerous Lady taught me a lesson of impact of poverty on crime. Just last few days, that Martina Cole was the one that wrote that book, Dangerous Lady. A family of 9 children, father and mother, who are very poor, so poor that poor people call them poor. You know, when poor people in the neighborhood say, see this poor man, that is raised to power 10. 9 children, their father taught them how to steal. So when the father taught them how to steal, it was post-war, post-Second World War family. They would go and steal from family that have been bombed to death. They will go and loot their property to feed. The mother does not work, she's just a baby factory to make children. So 9 of them survived. But as they grow up, they didn't grow up in any decent environment. So the first one was the first to go into proper gangsterism and start providing for the family. Lifted the family from poverty and started recruiting his younger ones to join him in the gangster business. So they start up a prostitution club, drug cartels, and the last born was a girl child who at 18 asked his elder brother, I want to join your business. And by the time, said, you, a girl, said, don't worry about my gender, about my sex, I will cope. And they initiated her, and she became the leader. In fact, she became deputy leader to the firstborn. And that created envy among the family. That this small girl now is the full confidant of our elder brother who initiated all of us. And that was how one of them blew whistle on their criminal enterprise to the police. Well, in that book, they lost 4 members of their family, remaining 5. And that girl eventually was to be neutralized alongside with the remaining 4. But his former boyfriend, who happens to be a policeman, was in saving grace. It was a very funny book. Go and read it. So, sustainable and inclusive strategies to addressing insecurity includes strengthening the police and armed forces, better intelligence and surveillance, better border control, control of small arms and light weapons, and the fight against corruption. We also must do poverty reduction measures like conditional cash transfer and the rest. As I round up, my concluding thought is that it's mid-term for PBAT, we call him PBAT, President BOLA AHMED TINUBU. And half-time is not the time to win a football match. Abi, they said not be who go call police, now they win case. So sometimes, 90th minute, a goal can still happen. We have seen it, miracle of the man. Nigeria was 4 goals down in the first half. Second half, we went on to level up and won. So it's still mid-term. Many of the reforms of PBAT have not reached gestation period, but my closing remark is that the three arms of government and the three tiers of government must work as in sync and synergize to resolve Nigeria's developmental challenge. What I didn't say here is that we have 11,082 political offices in Nigeria. 11,082, and I will give you the breakdown. Let's start from the bottom. We have 8,809 councillorship seats. We have 768 local government and 6 area councils, making 774. Add that to 993 state houses of assembly seats. Add that to 360 House of Reps seats. Add that to 109 senatorial seats. Add that to 36 state governors and the president. These are all the political offices we have occupied through election. So you cannot actually single out a man and demonize him and say he has not performed. In my article that will come out in Punch tomorrow, which I had to struggle to write very early today before coming, I raised the issue of Nigerians ruling elites and state capture. And I draw a lot of references. You will read about it tomorrow if you are my follower, or you can do a Google search tomorrow morning. And my worry is this. Why we demonize, we can say PBAT is not doing well, it's not. But will you even die? Do you know that this 70,000 minimum wage, the governors did not approve of it? Did you remember last year, by the time negotiation got to 60,000 minimum wage, the governors forum issued a statement, it's online, that they cannot pay 60,000. And the president used his privilege to now accept 70,000. Go and do a Google check how many states state government are paying 70,000 minimum wage today. In FCT here, teachers are on strike because area councils cannot pay teachers 70,000 minimum wage. In the area of law, and learning 6, 2 constitutional alterations have happened to grant state houses of assembly and judiciary financial and administrative autonomy. Go and check the states whether they have that autonomy. 2 constitutional alterations. For those of us who are fetish with, oh, let's not have the constitution to do this. It's not so much about altering the constitution. It's about impunity. The Supreme Court gave a judgment. Some governors are setting on committee to review it. And none has implemented the local government financial autonomy almost 1 year. So you blame the president? Shall we call the president out that he didn't do well to want financial autonomy for the state assembly, for the state judiciary, for the local government? But the emperor said no. The emperor said no. Nigeria Bar Association should get involved in public interest litigation. You cannot leave it to Sarah. Every Sunday, Sarah will issue a statement. They either suing government or they are calling for, because there is always a low, news are scarce over weekend. So they have chosen to release their statement Saturday night to make it into the press on Sunday and Monday. But Nigeria Bar Association, I enjoin you to engage in public interest litigation. I know you are doing your bit about advocacy for better Nigeria. Civil society and media should work collaboratively to bring government to account, and let's hope that this will bring relief and a new lease of life to Nigerians. Thank you so much for your attention.
Round of applause for that insightful, interesting, and brilliant presentation. Thank you, sir. I would like to specially recognize the presence of my Lord, Justice Alaba Ajileye, who joined us during the first presentation. You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst the chairman of the MBA Buhari branch, and senior partner at JB DAUDU & Co., Mr. PB DAUDU SAN. Also with us is a peace-building, democracy and government expert, Mr. Olumide Olaniyan. Welcome, sir. Next up is intervention by the coordinator, person of JB DAUDU SAN. A round of applause for him.
Well, before I start, let me introduce my very good friend, brother, and a colleague of many years. Let's say been friends from childhood. I think he was one time, is it MD of NNDC? And he has been all over the world. I was surprised, he shocked me to be here this morning. Mr. Yomi Oyelola. You are welcome. This is my humble intervention. I commend the erudition, depth, and forthrightness of our esteemed lead speakers, Malam Majid Dairu and Mr. Jide Odu, whose treatment of the above topic requires no further elaboration, commentary, or summary. All that can be said, or all that can be deduced from their exposition of the topic is that we, that is Nigeria, and Nigerians are in hot water and between a rock and a hard place on virtually all aspects of life, be it security of our citizens, economic and social welfare, and indeed political stability. No nation can survive with this level of chaos and uncertainty. I do not intend in this intervention to regurgitate the woes afflicting the nation. We have gone beyond that stage, or to apportion blames, although that may be unavoidable at some point in time. But I intend to focus on solutions, both in the short term and in the long term, and how Nigeria can be fixed again. But before any further progress is made, let me say that the most deleterious of the ills and malaise affecting Nigeria range from 1, insecurity, 2, biting poverty, 3, aggravated corruption, 4, playing politics and practicing democracy in an upside-down manner. Before delving into the solutions, I must confess that I'm neither a philosopher or a prophet. But from the time our planet was created, certain hallowed principles have been entrusted to humanity for the sole purpose of making a success of our sojourn here on earth a success. These principles are 1, fear of God, known in Sharia as taqwa, that means piety and consciousness of God and the fear of God. And 2, love of our fellow humans. It is these 2 precepts, that have been reduced over time in all documents governing humanity, countries and regions, in constitutions, legislations, decrees, and statutes, etc., so as to have peace, order, and good governance in all the societies. Any society or nation that makes progress is because its leaders, followers, citizens respect their legislation and strive to live in peace with their kith and kin. Take the Western countries, for example. Their common market, now known as the European Union, has metamorphosed into a monolithic entity with common borders and uniform laws, while our own equivalent in West Africa, ECOWAS, and I think Jide spoke of it now, has lost several members between 1975, when it was created, till date. At the last count, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger Republic have left the group. And Big Brother, Nigeria, cannot do anything about it. Our attitude to everything in life and politics is deficient of empathy, love of our fellow human beings, and tolerance. If it were not so, how will we explain the wanton killings of our fellow humans through incessant banditry, kidnapping, organ harvesting, corruption, armed robbery, religious intolerance and violence, brutal local internecine wars, etc.? This cruelty and bloodletting has been with us since the era of slave trade, but we are unable to extricate it from our system. Our politicians or actors in the political arena have transported these acts of historical and institutionalized cruelty, greed, avarice, and hate for the people they claim to represent into the modern scheme of things. Consequently, it is my humble belief that no model for development will ever work in our society or country unless we find solution to our unique mentality of selfishness, self-centeredness, and myopia in the discharge of public service within the political space. So in my view, the questions for determination are: 1. What steps is this TINUBU administration taking to reset or realign the mentality of the average Nigerian, including politicians, and direct it to the achievement of peace, brotherliness, unity, accountability, avoidance of corruption, etc.? 2. Can the unity of this country be welded together without any structural reconfiguration being undertaken on the present structure? These are some of the fundamental issues that need to engage our national discourse, because before we can proceed to deal with issues of hunger, poverty, and general economic and social discomfort afflicting the citizens of this country. I most respectfully now wish to proceed with the possible solutions to this current, to the ills currently afflicting this great nation. Jide emphasized on one or 2 points which will become clear here now about Boko Haram using drones and we cannot use drones. Food costing 1,500. It is not that it's not provided for in the budget. Go and look at the budget. It is this monster called corruption. It is eating. The money is chopped. You will hear of it now. If we don't eliminate corruption, this hydra-headed monster will eliminate us from the face of the earth. Some of the civilizations that have been wiped off the face of the earth by corruption include: number 1, Sodom and Gomorrah; 2, ancient Rome and ancient Egypt; 3, Carthage. There are many of them, including modern ones. To be embarrassing to mention some of them. Political corruption is defined as the use of power by government officials and their cronies and members of their network. Unwittingly, some of us may be members of their network and we do not know. Or we know, but we are comfortable with the bliss accompanying it. And members of their network for the acquisition of illegitimate financial gains. Now, if I am briefed to do a case by a governor, the president, a multi-sectoral Dangote, what I earn is not illegitimate. It is my legitimate fee, so I cannot be considered as a partaker in the network of crime. I'm only doing the work that my parents sent me to school to go and do. If Mojid or Jide is asked to draft a constitution for a budding political party, and they use their vast experience and see the pitfalls in PDP constitution and APC constitution, and they charge their fee for it, can it be described as illegitimate earning? So let us know that mere association with these people does not make you a corrupt person unless you go into the business that they are doing. So we'll still touch on that. Forms of corruption include, but are not limited to, these are the things that can: bribery, unprincipled lobbying, extortion, nepotism, cronyism, parochialism, influence peddling, graft, and embezzlement. According to one Yvette Renshi, a freelance journalist, this is how she put it. If corrupt politicians don't know how to run a country, and this is very important, if corrupt politicians don't know how to run a country, it could easily collapse the entire nation and its economy. When corrupt politicians are in charge, they usually use their position of power to subvert democracy, which is what they should really be advancing, so that they can streamline wealth and power to the top few percent, which makes everyone poorer while claiming that the general populace is getting richer. When the contrary is the case, by subverting democracy or eliminating it entirely, these corrupt politicians take complete control. It's not 90%. It's complete control and can implement pretty much any policy they want without opposition. They could do anything, and this is the most self-destructive thing anyone can do to his nation. End of quote. Certainly, the above passage must resonate with Nigerians and current social, political, and economic situation. We are in an era where we hear things that we have never heard before in our social and political lexicon, such as budget padding. Rubber stamp legislature is another lexicon that we are hearing. Oil theft, state-sponsored terrorism, illegal mining, uninhabited and uncovered spaces, snakes and monkeys, and even rodents swallowing up government money in government custody. Sponsored insecurity, just to keep the people subjugated. These are just a few of the new grammar, new words, phrases that have entered our lexicon. Let us rewind to 1999, that is 26 years ago. None of these ailments and anomalies were present in our country, and that was under the military. Yet, we have so transformed within one generation that some people are nostalgically wishing that we could go back to that era. The question to ask is, what steps has the TINUBU administration taken to fight the therefore described scourge of corruption afflicting this nation today? The answer is that if any steps have been taken to fight this cankerworm called corruption, it is either not visible, not sufficient, or not working. Just like terrorism, the battle against it must be both kinetic, that is, the battle against corruption must be both kinetic and non-kinetic. To understand the non-kinetic approach to fighting corruption, one must go back to the Goodluck Jonathan administration that introduced measures into the financial system of this country, such as the Treasury Single Account, remitter, and other revenue mopping solutions into the financial system, so as to plug leakages and loopholes hitherto exploited by greedy officials, politicians, and other servants of the state to drain the coffers of government of billions and trillions of taxpayers' money for their own personal benefit. So had it not been for the Treasury single account, for payment by remitter, it plugged loopholes, and government was now seeing trillions and billions, which never used to reach them. What people use these monies for, I don't know. I hear that when people want to retire, they go to their village, build a hotel or guest house, and so that when people are coming for burials, they can patronize those places. But really, these are some of the non-kinetic measures of stemming these loopholes. To the credit of President Tinubu's administration, it is at this moment pushing through the legislature, that is the National Assembly, comprehensive tax bills, whose end results will be to cast a very wide tax safety net, so as to mop up revenue for the developmental progress of Nigeria that will otherwise have been lost or not raked in had these legislations not been put to place. But the question that we must always ask is whether the sentinels at the gate of disbursement of these tax proceeds will allow such funds, whether they are eventually collected, to be deployed for the benefit of the people. Your guess is as good as mine. What is the kinetic approach to fighting corruption? This consists of all Nigerians and all operational law enforcement agencies to take up the fight against corruption as a national assignment and existential imperative. It means that the fight cannot really be left only to the EFCC, ICPC, and a few other agencies statutorily empowered to fight corruption. To many Nigerians, the sole police force, I think Jide mentioned it, was covered by Section 214 of the Constitution, that there shall be only one police force in Nigeria. So every other one constitutionally is illegal. But, like he mentioned, it is not practicable or desirable to have only one police force in the country. To many Nigerians, the sole police force is not only moribund, but a large percentage of its personnel are branded as corrupt. This morning I heard DCP Ajemobi complaining that they should not tar the police with the same brush, that only a few are corrupt, that majority are doing their work. I disagree with him. I think it's the other way around. Only a few manage, to the annoyance of the majority of their colleagues, to do their work. And most of the time, their lives are in danger. And they leave prematurely from the force. So, DCP Ajemobi, you may not be right there. That your statement this morning is the other way around. Unless it is necessary or absolutely imperative, most Nigerians don't report crimes that concern them, like if your house is burgled, your car is there, something happens, in which they are victims because of the fear that they may, in the course of seeking their rights, be branded as criminals or be exploited for financial gain. The only reason I tell people to, report is part of your civic duties. And I give this example. Someone did not report. They had stolen his ATM card. The ATM card was now manipulated, and some of the proceeds were found in an account traceable to kidnappers, a kidnapping. So he then turned the victim, whose money was taken away, now turned to be the one caught by the police as being the ringleader of the kidnapping syndicate. But for the fact that he reported the theft of his car to the police, they were prepared to almost liquidate him as being, because this is extrajudicial killing. So don't mind that you will still have to pay some toll or tax. If something happens to you, go and report. That is the kind of place that we are in at this moment. The police may not want us to say this, but this is the truth. This administration must commence with the rebranding of the Nigeria Police Force. The ways to do this include, but are not limited to: 1, increase the minimum entry level into the Nigerian police to become a graduate, the basic qualification to become a graduate from a recognized Nigerian university or its equivalent qualification from the polytechnic or other institution of commensurate level. I will emphasize on this. I wonder why today we insist on still using secondary school SS2 as the minimum, the benchmark for. You don't even need to have passed your school certificate. School cert failure is, yes, is what they recruit in police. Well, at least President has done other courses before. Well, let's deal with the police. We'll come to that one. Now, we are producing graduates in thousands every year. They complain they have no work. What stops the president or presidents who like to sign executive, what's this thing that President Trump does? Sign an executive order directing the Police Service Commission henceforth, from today, you must employ only graduates as the minimum level of the police. And same with every other security agency. It has its advantages. You hear today people who are untrained, who have not done the 101 of their courses in the university, which gives you an idea of human rights, social rights, being allowed to carry sophisticated guns. It gives them power, but you have not trained them as to the responsibilities and duties that they owe to other people when they are carrying such lethal weapons. So the first thing to start, and I urge the President within the next few weeks to direct by way of executive order that the minimum qualification, we should leave his own aside for now, for the police, since he has powers to sign it, should be a graduate from a recognized Nigerian university or its equivalent. Secondly, to ensure that all entry-level officers receive mandatory course in the recognition and enforcement of fundamental human rights that have been enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, the African Charter of Human and Political Rights, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They should have a course. All police officers, whether being, should be sent for a training on the recognition and enforcement of human rights. 3, ensure that they receive sufficient training in the handling of firearms to curb the wave of accidental discharge of firearms and all cases of abuse of firearms that our citizens now suffer from. Long ago, the policeman, you know this vehicle called 911? It used to be, it has in Hausa somebody called Karimota. He sits on top of the 911. Police asked 911 to stop. He didn't stop. Apparently, probably didn't hear because he's there. His engine is noisy. It's an old rickety 911. Police got annoyed, took his rifle, said he was aiming at the tire. Keremota dropped from the top of 911. So if he was trained to know how to aim and shoot. In Ibadan recently, last week, a man was carrying his son to go and sit for WAEC. Apparently, something happened. But assuming police wanted to shoot, couldn't he have disabled the car by shooting at the tire? But they don't have the skills to shoot within that period and accurately. So why give lethal firearms? Bring his American equivalent. Yeah, they too shoot people, but those ones, when they shoot deliberately, and they shoot at black people because probably they don't like the black man. But if you are asked them within a moment's notice to take down the tire, that shot will go to tire because they do target practice every time. When has any Nigerian policeman been taken to the range to shoot, to test his accuracy? And if he's found wanting, to be sent to desk job. Another thing we recommend is to improve their remuneration pay package. Remember that now, if the president listens, the minimum entry level will no longer be secondary school testimonial, but university graduate in sciences or humanities. And provide institutional support such as insurance cover, mandatory housing program, promotions as and when due, affordable health programs, and educational support for their families. Now, these are basic rights. They are not privileges. These are people that are, that's why those who watch AIT this morning, that Kakaki Social, they showed a long tape of a policeman negotiating and collecting 5,000 naira or 5 liters of fuel. Some of them have now embraced it as a means of extortion. But if these facilities are usually provided for them, and you have the correct educational level, it gets to a level that a man, and you can look at it from their superior officers. There are certain things their superior officers will not do in open. I don't know whether in covert they will do it. But you can see that the gap between the superior officers and the other ranks, in terms of mentality, psychological reaction to things, is so much that they need to build on it. So things like having police primary and secondary schools in all commands, for them to be covered by health insurance, for some of these things to be taken. And then before you jack up the number, it is not a privilege, it is a right. And if they say there is no money, although they say that is not correct, but somebody who is collecting every month 28 million naira in one of the arms of government should be able to forego some of those for the man who is his orderly, who helps him carry some of these packages into the car or to his bedroom. And they see these things. They see these things. And yet, you do nothing to improve their livelihood. So we still have a long way to go. Again, to rewrite the disciplinary protocol of all security agencies, such as the police, and ensure that those rules are revised and or rewritten so as to subject them to ordinary laws of the land. So that where somebody, now take for instance, that man that, the police officer, the policeman that shot and killed the schoolboy going for exams. What you will hear is that he has been tried in Odleru and dismissed. His brothers will cover him, and the rule of law will not be allowed to apply because he should be charged for murder, whether for murder punishable with death or one arising from negligence or recklessness. There must be a criminal trial. So this slap on the wrist approach to redress when a policeman commits a criminal offense against the laws of the land should be stopped. 6, serious and immediate touch must be given to the decentralization of the Nigeria police force. 20 years ago, and GD should be interested in this, I championed the advocacy of an autonomous and independent state police, completely severed from the umbilical cord of the federal police, that is the Nigerian police force. I cannot in good conscience state today that I still support the creation of a blanket state police left in the hands of the governor of a state. The reason for this shift in position is that the political maturity, and I say this with the utmost humility and respect, of our new set of leaders at state level is not such as was in existence 25 years ago. To create state police at this point in time is to encourage flashpoints in different parts of the country, some which may escalate into civil wars. I shudder to think what would have happened if certain states who were recently plunged into political crisis, I won't call any names, but you know them, had recourse to the armory of their police units during the political crisis that recently plagued their states. I don't see how they would not have used those opportunity and facility to take out their political opponents without any responsibility, or to create a war. So federal police will now come and there will be shoot me and shoot you between state police and federal police. So what has changed is political maturity. And for now, until the political actors improve in their political maturity, the alternative will be and should be community police. I propose most respectfully a measure where every ward in a local government will have an office of the community police that will monitor and ensure the reportage of all crimes and the movement of all suspicious characters who may likely pose a threat to the peace and harmony of the community. I do not believe that there are, what they call this, unsecured territories in the country. There's nothing like that. Every territory has an owner. Somebody will tell you that my father's, great-grandfather's land extends for several kilometers. And it is true. He knows where it is. His grandfather has told his father has shown him. And so they all know. But when people stray in these territories, we must have some form of organization that will document people who come in, what they have come for, and if they are identified as risks, for it to be escalated to either the local government or the state government. But money is meant for such, those things are not free. Yet, you will find that the governor has appointed 1,000 senior special assistants that he is empowering youth and pays them about 200,000 every month. You can use them usefully. You can use them usefully in a way and manner that they will remain in their communities. Anybody in any community, in any ward, in my village ward, you pay him 200,000. He will be in that office every morning. He will go around on patrol, buy him one motorcycle. He may close early in the afternoon to go and drink local brew or something, but he will still get the work done until you purge him of such behavior. 8, this means that every local government authority must be made the center point of the maintenance of law and order and the promotion of security in Nigeria. Note that there is still the corruption factor, and strict or severe punishment must be meted on local community police officers who corruptly abuse their power. It must be noted, and this caveat is a serious one, that Nigerian officials cannot operate without close and indeed sincere and rigorous supervision and accountability. This administration must rewrite the rules governing the fight against corruption in Nigeria. I'll just run through the remainder. The promotion of unity as a cementing bond in the Nigerian state. The catalyst for the political chaos, strife, intolerance, and incompatibility currently plaguing Nigeria is born out of the virus of disunity. General Gawan, the military leader who governed Nigeria between 1967 and 1975 during the turbulent years of the Nigeria-Biafra Civil War, tried his best to lay the foundation of a united Nigeria. He declared at the end of the Civil War a no victor, no vanquished situation. He promoted the 3 R's, that is reconstruction, reconciliation, and rehabilitation. He instituted the National Youth Service Corps template in a manner that will expose Nigerians of post-university age to various hitherto unknown parts of the country. And indeed, some of them formed lifelong bonds with their host communities through intermarriage and through outright resettlement therein. The hopes of our founding fathers as to the unity of Nigeria and Nigerians and Nigeria have been dashed owing to self-inflicted fault lines and fissures. Today, Nigeria is one of the leading, most insecure states in the world. We are plagued by local communal clashes arising from land disputes, old community grudges, farmer-herdsmen clashes, banditry, kidnapping. You can add crimes. The unity of our great country can only be promoted if the nation abides by the principles of equity and fairness in all spheres of governmental life. To this end, the TINUBU administration is urged to promote 1, fairness in the appointment of public officers and strict adherence to the principles of federal character. 2, strengthen and reform and reinforce the efficacy of the National Youth Service Corps program. 3, boost the capacity of the National Orientation Agency to execute programs that will advocate, emphasize, and accelerate the unity of the peoples of Nigeria. 4, ensure even an equitable distribution of projects and resources throughout the length and breadth of Nigeria. President TINUBU is trying to do that by 6 developmental commissions, at least. If they don't help themselves and they work the money, they should not come and blame him. Ensure that all future elections are not only free and fair, but credible. Ensure that primary and secondary education throughout Nigeria is free and qualitative and accessible to all school-age going children. Drastically reduce the population of our out-of-school children. That is a time bomb waiting to explode. And 8, take steps to curb the Japa syndrome. Create jobs for Nigerian professionals in Nigeria, especially medical doctors. I was told the other day that a lot of people want to read medicine, but they say no, they don't. That one university says they can have facilities for only 70. And somebody said that is good. I said that is the... If you remember Cuban doctors who came to Nigeria one time as technical aid people, the Cuban doctors are not better trained than our doctors. If you train a doctor, you don't need to have 70 cadavers for everybody to work on. Take them through the theory. I envisage a situation whereby you can produce in a faculty 1,000 doctors. He will have his housemanship to go and learn. So that by the time we flood the world with doctors, the ones that will remain will remain. So this idea of, no, let us not produce too many because they will run away, should be discouraged. The children are brilliant and they will adapt. And they are still the old ones to put them through. In those days, at the beginning of medicine, nobody went to school. Old doctors taught the new ones in their hospitals. So they will learn, they will catch up. We won't be tied anybody that is the guinea pig, but they will learn. Now the next one will soon be true. It's playing politics or practicing democracy in an upside down manner. Nigerians love democracy. They love to practice this system of governance because of its participatory nature, especially because of the opportunities it provides for improving the fortunes of the common man. It also provides a lot of entertainment, drama, and magic. Nigerians love a good laugh, especially when the topic ordinarily is a boring one, like governance and accountability, etc. But they also realize that politics is big business, wherein millions and billions of naira or even dollars can be emptied or siphoned from the system into personal accounts, and those doing the siphoning will keep a straight face and even blame the people who are meant to be beneficiaries of these resources. Politics and the vehicle that we transport it with, that is democracy, is not only a sacred trust, but a solemn responsibility to cater for the social, economic, and political needs of the people. But are we Nigerians actually or realistically, can we be said to be practicing democracy? The taste of the pudding is in the eating. The proper practice of democracy brings social and economic progress. It brings development and stability aside from attracting investments and tourism. You don't even need to cite as example of successful democracies the Western Hemisphere examples such as the USA, Britain, France, Germany. Look no further than the shores of the Asian tigers such as Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, etc. And even African countries like Ghana, South Africa, and Algeria. Ghana just conducted elections. I don't know, did anybody go to court after the Ghanaian election? Level. The successful management of a democracy lies in the partnership between the leaders and followers. Democracy is about accountability and keeping of the trust bond and social contract that is the relationship between leaders and followers. Democracy cannot survive in any system that the guardians of the sacred trust of leadership do not observe the basic rules such as the Constitution, statutes, and laws flowing therefrom. And even they don't even obey their own political party constitutions. True or real democracy can only survive where the leadership of the country observes its own rules, or at least keeps within the boundaries of civilized politicking. We are now in an era of anything goes in the practice of our own brand of democracy. Examples abound, and the people must speak out and indeed resist when one or more of the following events begin to happen. 1. Elected officials on a specific platform wander away from that platform that elected them and gravitate for personal and indeed selfish political and indeed commercial gains to another political platform that neither sponsored them nor promoted their political progress. The problem is that our basic law, the Constitution, does not outrightly outlaw the despicable act of carpet crossing from one, or also known as defection, from one party to another. It will be a tall order to request beneficiaries of the massive cross-carpeting going on today to champion the abrogation of the present kind of political chicanery that we are presently witnessing. But still, we hereby recommend an absolute ban on cross-carpeting, that is defection. The will of the people and their verdict at elections must be sustained throughout the period of the tenure of such an election. Gravitation, whether by design or by happenstance to a one-party state, must be resisted. Our Constitution is designed and expects our country to be governed through a multi-party democracy. One-party state is selfish, evil, and counterproductive. We must take a detour from that route. When the centripetal and centrifugal forces in a one-party system eventually explodes, then things would have fallen apart and the center will not be able to hold. Apologies to Professor Chino Achebe. A word they say is enough for the wise. Generally, the political class must commit what Malam Majid Dairu calls class suicide. Indeed, unless and until we make sacrifices of not being corrupt, of not engaging in terrible exploitative schemes, such as outright corruption, budget padding, siphoning of money from public treasury and other corrupt practices, we need to agree, both leaders and followers, to drop our corrupt tendencies. If we do not, we will continue to see the result, get the results that we are witnessing, which is a swift descent to the abyss of destruction and nothingness. Analyzing the shenanigans of our political class will take a whole book. It will only be apt to state that the purpose of this discourse, that our political class need to embrace positive change and be content with what they are paid as their legitimate emoluments. When people, an environment, people want to fly private jets and the rest of them. Insecurity, a lot has been said about it, but just a few lines before I conclude. Insecurity is pervasive in Nigeria. It comes in all shapes and forms. It is growing every day beyond acceptable proportions. It affects the economy by discouraging investors, stunting growth, reducing the ability of citizens to move their commodities from one part of the country to another. It truncates lives and livelihoods, yet the leadership appears not to understand that this is the pivotal issue confronting democratic governance in Nigeria. It is not sensible to amass private wealth in the middle of an insecure nation. Some critics think that it is a deliberate strategy, that is, creating insecurity, which is to create as much strife and insecurity while amassing private wealth, so that they can abscond at any moment's notice through and inside one of their private jets. I suggest that the President should summon a national conference on the resolution of insecurity, where all shades of views will be agglomerated and a consensus reached for the executive arm of government to undertake expeditious implementation. Now, some of these views that Jide has made very brilliant proposals, which a lot of people say every day, but it's as if government is not listening. Let them themselves call a national conference, bring stakeholders around, spend out of that small money, out of the money that they to discuss about these issues. You vote money for drones, why won't you ask the general, where is the money for the drones that we ordered? You even bring in the drones and sell it from your armory to the terrorists. It is happening and nobody asks any question. If you go and check, the drones now being used by Boko Haram against us may be our drones. Right now. Yeah. And so if we cannot float a drone and we put sitting ducks along the line, just because they are not related to you or they are children of poor people. So those of us who are still in cities like Abuja, I only say for a short time. Very soon it will come to us. And these people will be ruling the country. I know of a state governor who rules his state from Abuja. I won't call his name. Or many. But this one, I know him, I see him every time. He is permanently resident in Abuja. He just goes to his state on a visit. Yeah. So in conclusion, the American presidential export model of government vests powers, executive powers in the president, as opposed to the British or UK Parliament, which vests executive powers of the state on a group of persons called Parliament. What this boils down to is that our president must not and cannot afford to be an average leader. He must be an exceptional leader. And it is how he resolves issues like banditry, insecurity, out-of-school children, oil theft, free movement of citizens who travel by road within the country, electoral reforms, police reforms, political reforms, economic growth, that will determine whether he will win the next election. It is not. He has 2 remaining years in the tenure of his administration. His re-election, as he knows, despite the spate of pretentious defections going on in the country, they're just chopping his money, is not a given. This event, that is his re-election, like it or not, will not be anchored on political manipulations of his teeming promoters and supporters, who are financial beneficiaries of the whole process. Narrowly, the last election went the way it went, merely because the opposition did not gather themselves. But he's doing well. Curiously, this election, by the time he's getting to the 3rd year, will be anchored on only the president's performance in the key areas of security and the economy. Because, or unless the people are tired of collecting Indomie, rice, Maggi, one bale of atampa, salt, and the rest of them. By the time they are tired of collecting those things, and they think of the thousands that are dying in Plateau, Benue, Taraba, even in the east, even in other parts in the northwest, by the time people come to realize, and that's why I spoke of unity, that if Nigerians begin to see themselves as Nigerians, what is happening in Sokoto, Kebbi, Maiduguri, and then I saw they said the army neutralized a lot of these Mahmuda people, so maybe the middle belt approach is working. But unless those things are tackled by the president, Nigerians will be looking for a leader that can provide them security. So I ended by saying, the choice is yours, Mr. President. Please pick the right one. Thank you very much.
One more round of applause for the coordinator of the Rule of Law Development Foundation, Mr. J.B. DAUDU, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. His paper has been very stimulating. It has, most importantly, Nigeria Television Authority is here, the African Independent Television is here, people from the News Agency of Nigeria are also here to spread the word. I encourage everybody here as we go to our respective areas, industries, spares, to also spread the word and make a change one way or the other. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Now we'll take interventions, question and answers from people here and people online. I already see some hands raised. Could we please pass the mic? Could we please confirm that we have online, people online want to make their intervention? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very so much. All protocol duly observed. My name is Olumide Olani and I'm happy to be here. Some few comments, then 1 or 2 questions for especially Jide and Dairu. The first comment is in terms of the gender equality or women participation in governance under this particular regime. I think if you look at the National Assembly, for instance, we have just about 4% of women in parliament, which places Nigeria among the country at the lowest rank of women in parliament across the world. In fact, I was saying that the usual excuse of religion and culture as the bane for poor women participation in governance and representation should no longer be accepted. For instance, at the moment, there is a bill at the National Assembly for seat reservation for women in politics. Not less than 20 African countries have used this approach to improve the number of women in their parliament. And in addition to that is the fact that the president also needs to participate by appointing more women in his regime. In recent times, there have been a lot of appointments We also need to track the number of women that are part of that. Secondly, and quickly, is also the fact that Jide talked about the social investment programs as well as CCT, that's cash, condition transfer, etc. This effort need to be properly monitored. There should be serious accountability in terms of what is the process for selecting people. This has to be reviewed from time to time, and Nigeria should know about what government is doing to improve it. In terms of debt management, a lot still need to be done. Debt should only be taken if there is need for them. Then the usage and the impact should be open. People should know what we are using this debt for. Then in terms of my question is, what is Nigeria foreign affairs? In terms of Nigeria foreign affairs, what is the impact on Nigerian growth? What is the impact of this government's foreign affairs? What is this? In the past, for instance, in the some of the previous regime, when we were in school, Africa has been the centerpiece for Nigeria foreign affairs. What is the focus of this current regime in terms of our current affairs? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.
The coordinator and distinguished speakers. I was going to ask Mr. AHMED a question. No, in respect of the state police, which is like the coordinator has adequately answered the question. But all the same, I think the point has to be emphasized, about the potential for abuse, by the state governors. And I'm also happy Lanesik gave reason, for that. According to him, the crop of leaders that we have today, they are different from what we had 25 years ago. I even want to go back beyond 25 years ago. As a small boy in the village in those days, we used to have policemen with short knickers and their socks. They used to call them special constabulary. I think they were under the local council, control the local council. And they were very effective in protecting the community. So ordinarily, there is nothing wrong having state police, community police, and what you have. But like Lanesik said, the capacity of our current leaders to abuse, that power. It's just that, for instance, these governors, they have their vanguards, they have their... We know what they use those people, they are like thugs. Ultimately, if you allow this type of, as commendable as the idea might be, they will turn them to thugs, to oppress, the opposition and what have you. So, actually, any discussion about this state police, in Nigeria should be carefully considered, particularly in respect of the factor of abuse, capacity for abuse, potential for abuse by the governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Alabajile. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, my Lord. Lord Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. J.B. DAUDU, SAN, my very good brother. I'm so delighted to be here, and I've been following your sequence, and this being the 12th, I said I'm going to be here physically. So I'm delighted to be here, and thanks very much for the special recognition. My own intervention, Lana Silk and presenters, is I was fortunate to attend the Senior Executive Course 27 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, in the year 2005. And President Obasanjo gave us a theme to research about. And I think that theme is ever present in our midst today. He said, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you go and research Nigerian factor? What is Nigerian factor? Can you people go there, research 1 year, and research Nigerian factor and come back? And in formulating what Nigerian factor is, we came up with the theme, national reorientation for socio-economic development. National reorientation for socio-economic development. And we anchored our research on Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. What is it about? From the leadership standpoint, Lanesok, we need not just a visionary leadership, but we need an inspirational and transformational leadership. Inspirational because he needs to inspire the followers to do exactly what he's doing and to transform the society so that they will feel that sense of belonging. Let us say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to summarize in 2 words. We must interrogate our reward and punishment system. Once we do that, every other thing will fall into place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Protocols duly observed. I think he actually stole my thunder. And thank you for presenting the women aspect. I wasn't going there today. I actually came here to say something good about TINUBU because everybody will be expecting me to say something violent. You know, the violence in the system. Okay, but Jide now put me on the spot by asking if we can blame the president for everything that's happening. And I say yes, and yes, we can. He is the president. The buck stops on his table. Everything that goes on wrong under him is blamable to him. Yes, we can blame him. And you started very well by listing his credentials and saying, look at his agenda. And I wished we could tick off on those agendas against the credential he brings, NADECO, activists, all of that. Okay? Oh, this is a man who has forced me now, through this Band A electricity, to start watching my use of electricity. I didn't used to, but AC will be on, fridge. And I now count, what is this freezer actually doing for me? I ask everything a question. Do I need AC? No, my house is airy enough. You know, I didn't used to do that. So that's a good thing, I think, in a way, because even if they return the cost of electricity now, I'll still be counting what the meter is reading. I didn't used to know. Yes, and it is healthy. You know, why people do that? You know, I had an English education, and why people would do, oh, is this waste and all. I didn't used to do that, so it's a good thing that I learned. But I wish TINUBU himself was doing the same to himself. I wish he didn't go into Lagos with a convoy of 29 cars and have the streets chanting a big bami along. I wish his son didn't come out. There's no such thing as first son, or his daughter, the Yaloja, giving her own whatever. I wish he behaved better. I wish he didn't make so many trips abroad, where his entire cabinet goes abroad to present their scorecard or whatever. And I do not want a conference again. We've had enough of conferences. We're always talking. We're always conferencing. 2014 conference, I don't know, what's the outcome? What do we use it for? Or else a report that he came out, oh, he's going to adopt, that he didn't adopt. What are the repercussions? You know? So permit me, and I'm sorry to say, I can blame TINUBU for everything that went wrong under TINUBU's administration, including that the governors are not obeying the court orders. It's because he gives his body language they are reading. Yes, if they're not implementing what do you call it, the 70%, 70,000 minimum wage, they're reading his body language. They know nothing will happen. That's why Soludo would invite him and say, 2027, we're following you, so long as you make me governor again. So he has power of life and death in his hands, and he's exercising it. He's turning Nigeria into a one-party state against our will. We don't have a choice in that. Because when the big men cross over, you find yourself on the other side. You weren't even on any side, nothing to cross. But your leaders have crossed, and they've crossed with all the paraphernalia of government. So I can blame Tinubu for every single thing that happens under his leadership. What's the other one that I haven't seen? Yeah, okay. So I said one good thing, right? Right. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your contribution. Do we have any other speaker?
Good afternoon, everybody. I adopt the protocol of this meeting. My name is Dixon Watu, NBA Kaduna. So, my intervention bothers on the recruitment in the security agencies is very, very faulty. I know able young men who ordinarily, if they go for police recruitment or army recruitment, on their own they should be recruited. But they won't take them because they have no 300,000 naira to bribe somebody. Last time it was on air, an army captain collected money from a policeman's son, and he was not able to get him into the army. In fact, it was so bad. In fact, I am equally made to understand that to secure admission into the military schools or NDA is very, very difficult. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Can we? All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Eno Enang. I'm the Vice President of the Law Society of Ahmadu Bello University. It's such an honor to attend this lecture. I have a question which I think can be phrased as a suggestion. In regards to the rebranding of the police force, all the various points that were listed on how the police force can be rebranded. And I think the question I would like to ask is if it is feasible. Rebranding of the police force, I think in regards to the police force, we need to do something more than rebranding. My unpopular opinion, I would say, is that it's something as rotten as its core, at its core of the Nigerian police force cannot just be rebranded. I think it needs to be scrapped and started again. Because I know it's not a very popular opinion and it's not really feasible, but something like the police force in regards to all the complaints, ranging from all the complaints, basically, right from time, I think the police force needs more than rebranding. With something, rebranding means, oh, there are a few bad eggs, but something like a tree that is rotten at its branch can still be saved. But a tree that is rotten from its core, that's been rotting for quite a long time, I don't think rebranding is a sufficient word for what needs to be done to the Nigerian police force. I also don't think reform will suffice either. I think it needs to be scrapped and a new type of, I will not use the word police, but I would agree when when he said community authorities. I feel like those ones work even better because they are checked by the community. And that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To bring men to constitute it, they will not be Nigerians.
Is there anybody online? Can we please have contributions from our online participants? Technical, are there any hands raised? Okay. We have Baratu Dangana, we have Chioma Onodo Balogun Christopher. Okay. Baratu Dangana, if you are here, please give us your contribution.
All right. Good afternoon to the Rule of Law Coordinator, and good afternoon to the distinguished guests and speakers and panelists for this great webinar. Permit me to lead in every other establishment.
Could you please unmute yourself if you are not speaking? Chioma?
Hello?
Yes, please continue.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue. Yes.
All right. So I was sending my pleasantries to the Rule of Law Coordinator, J.B. DAUDU, SA.
Call my name,
and to all
Mr. Balogun
panelists
Christopher,
and all the invited
could you please
guests.
mute yourself?
You are not.
Yes, please go ahead, Mrs.
All
Barrett.
right, so my intervention is to seriously congratulate the Rule of Law for taking the bull by the horn to assess this half term of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, I want us to look at security state of the nation, which has hampered the economic growth and development of the nation as well. And someone has talked about looking at our reward and punishment system. Now, I just want us to also look at the military aspect of the security with the recent happening in Maiduguri, wherein we thought the BH have gone and suddenly they are coming back and doing a lot of havoc, even taking over the security paraphernalia of the Nigerian army. Don't we think that it is this reintegration that has given them a lot of strength, and some of them still have contact with those who have not been reintegrated? Don't you think that there is a lot of sabotage in the Nigerian army and the security paraphernalia of the Nigerian security force? That is why the Boko Haram could again come back and start unleashing mayhem. I think we should look internally into our security arrangement as a nation. Because once we don't have a strong security, nothing, not the economy, not the people of the nation can thrive. The Rule of Law has given us a lot of recommendation, very, very laudable recommendation. And I am of the opinion that our security system in Nigeria needs a complete overhaul. The state police, the Nigerian military is sinking. We are looking at them with all their uniforms from the outside, but when you hear military personnel say something about what they go through, it pains you that you are a Nigerian. It pains you that sometimes your life is sold even without you knowing. Even them who go to the war front, they are not sure with those they are together with whether they are on the same side. So there is need for a lot of overhaul. And I think, once again, I need to congratulate the Rule of Law for talking about this issue. And I wish the Federal Republic of Nigeria will really take action. At least for these next 2 years, something good should happen by looking at Nigeria, and the Nigerian interest should take precedence over the individual and political interests of all the politicians. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Baratu Dangana. Thank you for your contribution. We still have Balogun Christopher and Chioma Ibe Omodo. Mr. Balogun Christopher, are you there? Okay, Chioma, are you there? Please give us your contribution.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm using, my name is Victor. I'm using the colleagues device. So it's can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Can I speak? Can I go on?
Could you please introduce yourself and give us your intervention straight away?
All right, thank you very much. I didn't know I could speak. Right, so my name is Victor Abayami. I'm a legal practitioner from Edo State. I've had to join this program using another person's advice, again, and honestly against all odds. And at the point where I joined, I must congratulate the organizers of this program. I actually thought it was another event where our president would be celebrated for, honestly, quote unquote, doing nothing. With all due respect, you know, I've heard a lot of issues being talked about, and as a concerned Nigerian, I think I must just lend my voice to the fact that Nigerians, those at the top, let me just say those in controlling offices, they know what they are doing. The ladies that just spoke before me talked about security and insecurity in the militia and everything. If you're really close to these people, you would understand the havoc that happens. Our insecurity is another investable security that you can literally put your money in. Is a business, right? So others are suffering, but some other people are making a ton of money out of this thing. The only thing I just wanted to contribute to my intervention really is our constitution needs to be readdressed. There are too many issues with that document. We are still a marriage of strange bedfellows. We need to look at every provision in the Constitution. This is the ground norm, right? This is the document that makes the preamble says we the Nigerians, blah blah blah, blah and everything that said, right? Indivisible, and all of those things need to be revisited and talked about before we can experience some, this is 2025, some progress for crying out loud. We're like the least of the nations, and we're like a joke among other nations. Something has to be done. Section 131, the qualifications of a president, is alarming in this day and age. Somebody who can just merely say, oh, I attended secondary school, and that is all he has to show to be president. We have a long way to go. That kind of person is leading PhD holders, people that are actually academics. Come on. We have to rise past, strategies that do not favor nation building. We need to move past marginalization. We need to move past self-interests and self-popularity. We need to move past, what is this thing called?
Please round off your thoughts. Mr. Peter, could you please round off your thoughts?
We need to move past all of these things and face the issues. We've had conferences and talks and here and there, but what are the solutions? So we can't see it. We can't see it. And the generation of our fathers are living, and our own generation in our 20s, 30s are ready to continue that trajectory. If nothing is done, what hope does this nation really have? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter. Could we please have Mr. Balogun Christopher before we take AHMED SN? Please, 2 minutes, please. Your contribution, 2 minutes, Mr. Balogun Christopher.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. You know, I want to first thank the convener of the Rule of Law Foundation for this opportunity. Once you are left to see, when analyzing Nigeria problem in its complex dynamics, it will require multidimensional approach and policy application and implementation. The first solution I will provide before I even proceed to recommend this data-driven decision making. When we put data-driven decision making at our forefront, we'll be able to resolve some of the issues facing us without data-driven decision making. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes. You have 1 minute more.
Data-driven decision making is making organization decision based on facts, statistics, and data analysis rather than rely on intuition, experience, and gut feeling. I remember some time ago we discussed the issue of minimum wage. And from data that we have about implementation of minimum wage, you always exacerbate poverty, wanting a balance of payment crisis. We talk about Nigeria collectively rejected it. When we resort to data before we make decision, I think we'll be able to resolve our problem easily. On the floating of Naira, it's so appalling that we floated Naira with the friends of their book still doing their business as usual. At the end of the day, working the issue of money laundering, illicit trade, we even have 10 access to foreign exchange because of their patronage. If we need to vote with the Naira, the first thing to be done is to make sure the middlemen, these are books, have to be stemmed out.
Mr. Christopher, could you please round off your thoughts?
No, you didn't allow me to explain now. When you talk about food, also have the issue of reliance on dictated by a breakthrough apparatus, which is World Bank, IMF, and World Trade, or General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Each time we rely on them, they don't even have detail about what is going on in the country. One thing that both people agree, they said, in looking at the average income of the global south, they don't take into consideration the general average income of people. They just come out like, for example, they look at the income of Dangote.
Mr. Christopher, your time is actually up, sir.
You didn't allow me to speak. Maybe it's better I speak. You didn't allow me 2 minutes for this intervention. You didn't allow me to speak. It's purely academic.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We are very grateful. Any other person online? Gerald Ajoku. Could you please give us your intervention? Could you please unmute Gerald Ajoku? Mr. Gerald. Mr. Gerald Ajoku, could you please give us your intervention? Could you unmute yourself? Yes. All right. Can you hear us?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Gerald Ajoku.
Thank you very much.
When I really joined the section, it's as if my network is so bad that I can hardly hear. I was trying to pick from the slide, especially from that of JB Daudu SAN. Please, I want to seriously request, because of the nature of this particular robust overview of the terms of report of administration of the president from 2023 to 2025, if at all the slide, especially that of JB Daudu SAN, can be sent to us via our email for us to enrich ourselves more, because the topic is not something that can really slide low. Please, that's just my humble request.
Thank you very much. The technical would ensure that the paper gets to all participants. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Do we have any other participants, online participants who wants to contribute? Olaiton Komolafe, yes. And Mr. Israel. All right. Olaiton Komolafe, could you please?
Can you please hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed. Right. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon. I have a very short comment to make. Let me start by thanking the presenter of the paper, JB Daudu, SAN. I didn't expect anything less. By virtue of the profession where he comes from, I am also a legal practitioner. I just want to, at this stage, a lot of questions and comments have been raised. I want to appeal to the organizers. Can we allow him to respond to those? And if there are additional questions emanating from that, then we can proceed. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Israel A., could you please unmute yourself and speak?
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please proceed.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so I think the one suggestion amongst many things that's been said, amazing stuff, and like was mentioned before, we'd love to have the slides and everything to go over. I think something very important that I've come to realize is when there's some kind of public benchmarking, we realize that the government starts to sit up. So what do I mean? When it becomes some kind of public knowledge that in this industry, this is what happens versus what should happen in a proper country. When that is made public, all of a sudden we realize that the government swings to action because there are so many interventions that have been mentioned. But it seems like when they are publicly put on the spot, benchmarked against what should be done, then there seems to be some effectual change to those things. Because many of the things that have been suggested are not new, right? I don't think we're hearing them newly for the first time. But because there isn't generally some kind of public benchmarking that, okay, in a functional society, this is what should happen versus what is already happening. When that is made public, you realize all of a sudden that the government starts to sit up. So I don't know whether they want to use shame as an instrumentality to get things done. That shouldn't be. But if that has to be done, then we need to find such kind of places to let this thing be well known outside. Once it gets to a certain level, whether it's international stage or the apex of national stage, then there seems to become some kind of sitting up. So if that can be created, I believe it forces them to get on their feet to get things done too. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Israel. And that will be the end of our contributions online. Thank you very much, everyone who has participated. Definitely, I'm sure we have improved ourselves and we'll be able to exchange ideas on how the administration can fare better going into the second half of the administration. Thank you very much to all our panelists and everybody who has participated. Oh, yes, please, can we have responses from the resource persons? Yes.
Let me just thank our chief host for giving us this platform once again to share our modest opinion on national discourse. I also want to thank everybody here, all the learned Sikhs, all the eminent jurists, and all, everybody has taken time to be here. I think we've had an exhaustive conversation. Just like those that are asking for the extracts of the papers presented, I'm going to also take my time to go through them and also enrich my own little body of knowledge on the subject matter. So I think all that needs to be said has been said already. So just for us to go and see how many of the issues we've discussed here we can put to practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Majid. Can we have a 1-minute response from Mr.
Closing remark. That will be done by the coordinator, I guess. I'm not sure there was any question.
No.
Foreign affairs. Well, I'm not a TINUBU spokesperson, so I really don't know whether he has a foreign policy.
You see, just to respond to the issue of foreign policy you raised, Nigeria does not have a foreign policy because Nigeria is not a nation. It is nation states that have foreign policies. What you have as a country is a country of geographic nationalities competing for internal resources. So what you have is sectional policies on how to extract from the national cake. And that is why there is no presidential candidate in Nigeria, at least in 1999, that campaigns with a clarity of policy propositions on foreign policy. It does not exist. Not even in anybody's manifesto. Even to copy and paste, it's not there. And to show how bereft of foreign policy Nigeria is, our president committed a blunder when the Nigerian coup happened. Because he does not understand that every country in the world looks out for itself first under any circumstance, including the United States of America. So the same way that the United States can never pressure Saudi Arabia to transit from monarchy to democracy, or grant women rights to whatever, or whatever you think, it's not possible. The same way the United States can never restrain Israel from carrying out its military objectives in the Middle East. It's the same way Nigeria should have understood the historical, the cultural, and economic ties between Nigeria and Niger. Once there was a coup in Niger, the first thing the president was supposed to have done was to dispatch an emissary to Niger to say, is the status quo going to remain under the new order? If yes, okay. So I'm going to Abuja, we'll make some statements on why people should quickly hand over to civilians. But please, just take that as semantics. It ends there. But the naivety and inexperience of our president, coupled with the fact again that we don't have a foreign policy, and decided and was threatening war with 2 battalions against Niger. You know what has happened? Niger used to be the buffer between Nigeria and the Sahel. Niger had a very important and powerful contingent to the multinational joint task force. Niger right now has developed a lukewarm attitude towards our national security. That is the hike, the spike in some activities you are seeing in the Northeast. All because of one man's naivety. Again, because we don't have a foreign policy. Thank you very much.
Let me even buttress what Majid has said, but in another dimension. Are you aware that 2 years into TINUBU administration, the ambassadors have not been appointed? We don't have ambassadors. They've been trying this for the past 1 year. There was a leaked one early in the year. They said, this person is there. They have settled the FFK. They have settled the Renault Mockery. You understand? 2 years. And this government did not deem it desirable to have ambassadors in foreign countries. So it shows, it goes without saying that we don't, not even our supposed Afrocentric gesture. What impact have we made in African Union? We have decimated the ECOWAS. We are not doing any better in UN. Beyond the entourage. You remember, sir, the largest contingent to UN General Assembly in 2023, September. We have bigger contingent than China, than India, than the host America. And that is why TINUBU now quickly said, okay, if you don't have business, you will not be on the list. But where has that money gone to? And on the issue of gender, my brother, let's not deceive ourselves. It's a long walk to freedom on the issue of gender. And that's another disappointing gesture from President TINUBU. The man that campaigned on affirmative action of 35% for women in appointive positions, a cabinet of 50, barely 7 ministers, 3/4 of that, Minister of State. And you know, it's not the same. Minister of State and minister does not have the same status. That's why they kept this woman in labor, Minister of Labor, Minister of State. She's there. Bianca, Minister of State, Foreign Affairs. And that's what he will be counting and say he has given women slots. The substantive ministers are just 3 or 4. The one for FCT is also Minister of State. Have you heard of, do you know her? No, okay, maybe because she's from Kano. I can't even recall her name. Mary, thank you for enlightening me. But the person everybody knows is Wike. But there are 2 ministers in FCT. So it tells you the hypocrisy of the political elite that when they want to buy votes, curry favor, they make promises. No, I think it's Matthew Cuomo, former New York governor, that said politicians campaign in poetry and deliver in prose. And that's exactly what's happening. They campaign in poetry, deliver in prose. And that's what they have started again, 2027. Renewed hope, hopeless hope. God bless us.
Thank you very much for that rejoinder.
Let me just respond to Eno Ismail, the young lady who advocated for the scrapping of the Nigerian police force. My Lord Justice Adile responded. But however, you cannot scrap police as it is, no matter whether it is rotten from top to bottom. But when you use at this level words like rebranding, words like reform, they are diplomatic words to be used to suggest that something, first of all, is wrong with that entity. You cannot say you want to take a man out of the scene and suggest that you behead him. So they don't use that kind of language. So when you employ such language, rebrand, it's a subtle way. That's the distinction between opening yourself to be charged under the Cyber Crime Act. Because there's a difference between when you say something constructively and when you say it destructively. So at a certain level, and as an upcoming lawyer, you should start to gravitate into knowing the nuances when certain words are used. We mean almost exactly the same. And I'll tell you how it can be achieved. We have said, bring in graduates. If you start today, 2025, with graduates, by the year 2050, the entire police force, all those who are non-graduates would have graduated. They would have gone, they would have retired. So you cannot have a brand new police force today, but you will have it in 30 years' time. So you must plant the seed today so that it will germinate, and by the time those who know about policing are in the majority, there will be systematic purges. This group should go, this group should go. That's how things are achieved in governance. But if you use youthful exuberance into it, and then you see, okay, all these people are trained on how to use firearms. Send all of them out today. How many armed robbers will you have now in the town? So you must think of your own safety too and the safety of your children. The DSP said they don't pay him his retirement benefit. He will go and coach Boko Haram as instructor. Meaning there's something he knows how to do. It's a subtle warning. He may probably even go and gather boys and they start another business. So when you look at the implications of such drastic action before you take any steps. So I think that should cover or round up.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. A round of applause once again. We would like to invite Learned Silk, Mr. Adedayo Adedeji, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for the vote of thanks and closing remark. Please, a round of applause for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you will all agree with me that this discussion so far has been an insightful, incredibly insightful discussion. Thanks to our speakers and of course to the participants. I think at this point, we all deserve another round of applause. On behalf of the Rule of Law Development Foundation, we want to thank our speakers for sharing their expertise with us this afternoon. We are indeed very grateful. We have learned a lot from your wealth of experience and knowledge, and we look forward to partnering with you as the years go by. And to our participants, we are also very grateful for your robust participation. Indeed, your participation in this webinar has made this exercise a tremendous success. And once again, I want to thank you all. And also for those who joined us online, we are also indeed very, very, very grateful for your participation. Your participation has also made this webinar a tremendous success. Once again, we thank you all for coming. May the Rule of Law Development Foundation continue to thrive, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Could we just have a closing prayer, a brief closing prayer from Mr. Anslem Obarezi?
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, we thank thee, O Lord, for a successful webinar. Father, we pray thee, as this webinar has come to an end, Father, lead us safely to our various homes in peace. For in Jesus' mighty name we pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much. We would respectfully invite the panelists and distinguished guests for a brief photo shoot with the coordinator of the Rule of Law Development Foundation.